What's up, you savages? Brewski here with a unboxing video for you. I'm actually going to be reviewing the Warhammer 40,000 10th edition starter set introductory set. This is the low tier box for getting into 40k, and I'm going to be giving you not only my thoughts as a returning player, but what I think a new player would get out of this. Let's check it out. Okay, so here is our introductory set. Ooh, this was, I believe, 65 bucks US dollars. And inside the box, you are getting 5 Space Marines, 10 Termagants, Rippers. You get paint, you get clippers, you get a paintbrush, you get dice, you get rulers, and you get like a mini. It is not a rule book. I'll explain that further when I get into it, but that is just your box art right there. Let's get to the unboxing. Okay, so as we get into the guts of the box, the first thing we see is the handbook. I'll get more into detail on what this actually comprises. I'm just kind of listing stuff right now. The next is the playmat, and this is a, I believe it's a 22.5 by 30 mat, which is double-sided. And it's kind of this glossy, shiny paper. This will hold up to quite a bit, but, you know, not amazingly. You have a generic Warhammer measuring stick. This is just in inches, goes up to 12. Fairly flimsy. If you want to win an argument with someone, you'll definitely be able to with that. This little bag, and if you haven't seen it, is just a few dice. Your generic white D6s, not really taking time on that. You have bases. Everything is the same size, I believe, except for the one bigger one for the Rippers. You have a set of Citadel Hobby Nippers. I actually think this is cool because typically you either have to go to, if you're not in the hobby, you have to go to a corner store and get like nail cutters, or you have to get electrician's nippers from a hardware store or something. So this is actually fairly nice. And it's in here somewhere. There we go. You get a super basic Citadel starter brush, which really is nothing to write home about in terms of the point. That is, you can kind of see it there. It is just a fairly, it's kind of a fat brush, to be honest with you. If I'm just giving you a size comparison here, showing it on my hand, that's a fairly fat brush sort with a little bit of a point. It's not going to do much in the way of detail, but that'll get someone going. We have 5 Citadel paints, and these, I believe, are full-size pots. These are 12 milliliter. So we have McCragg Blue, we have Abaddon Black, we have Nagaroth Knight, we have Wraithbone, and we have Balthazar Gold. Then we have our minis. There are 3 sprues for the Tyranids themselves. And they did a fairly good job of making these, you know, fit onto the frame. They are push fits. You don't need glue for these, you just need the nippers. And it's basically the same thing repeated. They do have the rippers on 2 of these, though. There's 4 little rippers to a base. And then we have 1 sprue for the Space Marines. You don't have any weapon options here. These are just the weapon names are escaping me right now, but the flamethrowers. And the sergeant has a pistol and a knife and a head option, and that's really it. You don't have an upgrade. You don't have anything else for that squad. The other thing this box comes with is these little, there's templates in here. These are walls. Actually goes into that in the missions. You also have a couple of tokens. These are supposed to be objective markers for the Space Marines and Tyranids respectively. And these are supposed to be activation tokens. So as you activate a unit, you'll use these. I think that's for newer players who aren't necessarily as used to keeping track of what has already gone in the turn and what hasn't. These are double-sided, so fairly decent. Anyway, that's it for the... that's it for just what's in the box. Now, going over a couple things here, I'm really just going to get into a few different points that are on my mind, and I'm taking this from the perspective of a new player and a returning player. I'm mainly going to be going over things that I found in the handbook, and I'm not going to stay on any one thing very long. This handbook is fairly simple. It comes with a couple good details. It's got lore in it, so you can obviously read about Space Marines and Tyranids, the universe of Warhammer 40k. It's got assembly guides, how to build your miniatures. It's got a lot more detailed paint guides than I figured. Like, it's literally showing you how to load up a brush, how to get just the right amount of paint on the brush, how to thin down the paint, which I don't think I've actually seen in a starter set before. And they're actually going over how you paint the models just with the colors that are in the box. So that's 5 paints, and they're suggesting you can do all the models to a standard with those paints, which it's refreshing to me that they did that, because normally you see the miniatures and they look, you know, heavy metal quality. And for the very first starter set, I think that's really misleading to a new player, because then they expect they can do all that. If you've never touched paints or brush, it's a little bit off. So I'm kind of glad they just showed you this is what you can do in this box. That was something I actually found very refreshing. Okay, here's where I get into some issues, okay? And this basically just comes down to what you can play in this game, all right? First off, you don't really have data sheets, okay? That's it. You literally just have move, attacks, attack roll, and save for your 4 different units. Your Sarge, your basic Infernus Marines, your Termagants, and the Ripper Swarm, okay? This is a little too dumbed down, even if I'm brand new to gaming. All right. You get into the scenarios. Training scenario number 1, and you have Space Marine turn, and how far they can move, and how far they can shoot. They literally show you what the dice rolls are to hit and what to miss, and it goes right to Tyranid saves. So, unless I'm missing something here, we don't have shoot, wound, roll, armor save. You just have shoot, in other words, hit roll, and then armor save, which I think is really just altering turn sequence too much here. It's the same thing with Scenario 2, which is supposed to introduce you to close combat, and all you're getting out of this is move, charge, fight, what those rolls are. And again, it's just hit and armor save. There is no wound. So, okay, fine. And then you get into a final mission using everything, which has a little bit of objective control versus just clunking over the head. And you can shoot and you can assault. And then they just suggest you have random off games. And they tell you what to buy from there. And they get into the starter set and the ultimate starter set, what those have. It shows you the different kits they have. Like, you can obviously buy the Space Marine Librarian. You can buy the whole Combat Patrol. You can buy the Space Marine paint set. And it gives you a little more detail on how to, beef up your Marines. And the exact same with the Tyranids. You have your Barb Gaunts, the whole Combat Patrol, the paint set, and more detailed painting guide on those. So, all in all, that's really what you're getting there. Now, I'm going to divvy that up because that's kind of the game. And again, what I really don't like there is you're not getting, even though this isn't taking into account rules like morale, it's not taking into account wound rolls, like I said. It just seems too simplified to me. I could throw this at a normal gamer, and if they get the concept that that's all the game is, or that's all there is to it, they're really in for a shock if they ever get into something more upgraded, because there are so many more rules, and you don't even have full data sheets. You don't know what the weapons are called. There's no special rules. There's very little lore. It's too simplified. It's too dumbed down. Getting into the hobby side of it for the miniatures, Games Workshop has not reduced the quality of these miniatures at all. These are very detailed. Just looking at the Termagants here, you lose nothing on these models, okay? They are as good as the full-blown kit. They really have a lot of the detail. The Gribblies are there. There's nothing I could complain about with the minis. The fact that you have a set of hobby nippers is light years above people just ripping these off of the sprues. Space Marines, same deal. There's a a really high and good consistent GW level of detail with these, and they are all push fit, you know, I've got no complaints with these minis. Absolutely. If I were a new player starting out with this, this would not be too daunting. I mean, that's the entirety of the kits that we're actually messing with. The entirety of the models is right there. So you're not building armies as a complete and total newbie. You're not too overwhelmed. I think the number is just right. Paint wise, again, you can, you know, you just have these 5 colors and you can do quite a lot with that. You can, you know, obviously it lends itself to your forces. You've got your blue and your gold for the Ultramarines, and you've got white and tan for the Leviathan fleet colors. You got black as an undercoat or for details or whatever, and you could blend with those, whatever. If I were brand new and had never painted before, the one thing that always struck me was going from regular models to miniatures was I never had brushes that were small enough to do detail until I really got into the hobby. So I'm glad they at least, you know, it's not any great shakes, but at least they give you this so that, you know, you have a leg to stand on when it comes to painting, and you're not going to be painting with some big, you know, generic brush or a Crayola flathead brush that just kills all the detail on your models and wastes your paint. That's pretty good in my estimation. So hobby-wise, I think the value for this kit is pretty good. Okay, I think you've got just enough to really get you into the hobby, get your feet wet, learn how to paint, learn how the basics of building go. Push fit wise, I'll go over the kits. I'll probably do a build video and just kind of go, hey, how does this all go together, and let you know what I think there. Anyway, that really is all I have to go over of what's in the box. Now, as I said, I was going to go give my thoughts on a new player getting into the hobby versus a returning player like myself who's been into Warhammer for years. I'm out of touch with the editions. I really haven't played that much since 6th. I did a little bit with the 9th edition starter, as you've seen from some of my Instagram stuff. Here's what I think. For a brand new player, this is the perfect set, okay? You get just enough models without being too many. You get just enough understanding of rules. You get a playmat. You get tokens. You've got some starter paints. This is enough to really just introduce you to the hobby, and that's all it does. And for 65 bucks, that's totally fine. I do wish it was a little more complete on the rules. I wish you had complete data cards. I wish this really gave you the full, at least if you're doing moving and shooting and charging, I wish it gave you the full rules for those aspects of the game. I could see that maybe Games Workshop is trying to reach a younger crowd with this, and especially not a veteran gaming crowd. So it makes sense to me why they're doing that. But again, I don't like the fact that it's just too simplified. Okay, so for newer gamers, for the value and everything, totally fine. I'm griping mainly as a veteran. Okay, now returning to the game, returning players, people who've been out for a couple editions, this is going to be too simple. I'm just going to tell you right now, you want to start with the actual starter set, the $110 set that gives you the Terminators, the Von Ryan's Leapers, the Tyranid Prime, all that stuff. It's still not too many models to jump into, but at least you're going to get more of the rules. You're not just going to be playing this super watered down version of 40K. You know, I think that's just where those kind of players should start. So if you're a returning player, if you played in, you know, 7th, 8th, 9th, if you've been around since 2nd or 3rd, and you're looking at, well, maybe I should just get this to see how it goes, I don't recommend this set for the veterans, being totally honest here. I can't really complain about what's in it. Again, for the value, for $65, you get paint, a brush, nippers, a measuring stick, dice, enough rules to play with these models, and you're getting 10 Termagants, a Ripper, Swarm, and 5 Infernus Marines. Decent, and it's roughly the same size as the last set. The 9th edition recruit set was 10 Necron Warriors, 3 Scarab bases, the Royal Warden, and you got a Lieutenant and 5 Assault Intercessors for the Space Marines, roughly the same scale of game. Those had complete data sheets, and those had complete rules for what you were doing. In other words, you still had hit, wound, armor save. Everything was not really super simplified. It was enough of the rules of what it was showing you. It showed you all the move, it showed you all the shoot, it showed you all the assault, and let you go from there. That's really all I think's wrong with this set for what it is. Okay, that's just me being straightforward. Anyway, I'm going to have fun with this anyway. I just want to get into it. I wanted to get myself into 10th and just kind of see what's on offer here. This is a little more simple than I wanted, but I probably will in the next couple of weeks get the... I probably won't go for the ultimate set, but I'll probably get the middle starter set because I think that's going to be just the right level for me to get into. I'm dying to get my hands on those Terminators, the Von Ryan Leapers. Great models. I really love those. So I hope this has helped. Obviously, if you have questions for me or you want to pick my brain as a gamer, as a long-term veteran of 40K, or you have other questions on the set, you can definitely put those in the comments. If you subscribe, you'll get notified when I do more videos. I am going to do at least the build and the paint. I know I want to do the Tyranids' Hive Fleet Tiamat because I really like the green scheme. It's not one you see very often. I'm dead set on that. I'm not sure on the Space Marines. So if you have a chapter you really want to see me paint up, go ahead and drop that in the comments too. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. You savages.